Hey everybody. Okay, I'm back for part 2 and we're going to ink this Nightwing drawing. And I'm going to start with a finer point fine liner, 0.05, to I like to start off like a smaller, outline the whole thing, and then add in line weights towards the end, and even like a final layer of line weights after I've colored the piece. I might go ahead and do that before coloring this time, just to keep the videos on a current the same theme, but I might not, so we'll see. Alright, so usually when I start a piece like this, I like to start in the face. So I'm going to go ahead and start here with the nose. And I'm actually not going to do as far as I did with the pencils. And the whole mask is going to be, I'm just going to do it all in black when I color it in. So right here it's connected, but I'm not really worried about that right now because it's all going to be black when I'm done with it. Also, in this video, I'm going to be turning the paper a lot because I've found when you're inking, especially if you're just kind of getting practice in and you're just getting good at it, or you're just practicing, you're a beginner, you're going to find that you're more confident doing strokes a certain direction. So you want to turn your paper so you can get those strokes in the way that you want. So like if you're more comfortable coming down like this and you're more confident, you want to have those confident lines, turn your page so it will allow you to do lines that direction. That's actually something, I don't know if I learned that from somebody or just figured it out over time, but it makes it a lot easier if you can figure out like the kind of strokes that you're confident with, because that will take out some of the jittery lines that you have and will kind of help you level up your inking quicker, just to kind of keep those strong lines. And also try and visualize the line you're getting ready to put down. That will help you too. And another reason why I start with these really fine points is because even if you make a little bit of a mistake, you can kind of hide it later and it's not that big of a deal because you can just add line weight to it and make it a little more consistent. So yeah, I'm gonna finish up the hair here and then we'll see where we'll think about where we're gonna move next. Go ahead and do the mouth. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and start with like the bigger muscle groups and pieces of the body. Well, actually I'm gonna start with things that are in the foreground. So let's start with his hands and his weapons. I know I talked about in the last video that you can use rulers for these kind of things if you want to get straight lines, but I'm just gonna kind of go a little quicker and just eyeball it and try and stay consistent instead of worry about getting precise lines. Again, turning the paper to make sure I get a good position to do my line that I'm comfortable with. And here's his thumb I have up here up against the stick. Alright, now I'm going to start doing the rest of this arm. I'm going to start kind of with like the outline shape and then we'll go into more of the details after. Kind of the same way I did with the pencils. Do more of the bigger pieces and the outlines and then move into the finer details. Same kind of deal. And this is kind of the point where it might get a little tricky for you too, because you kind of have to really commit to some of your lines and your details and everything. This is kind of the time where you have to make those decisions if you want to change things, because it gets a little more difficult to change things after this point. You can, but it's going to end up being a little bit more work. So I try and avoid that if I can. Alright, let's go ahead and do this one too. And your lines are going to be more consistent, like if you do like these quick strokes. You're just not really second guessing yourself. You don't give yourself a chance to really like be jittery with it. Like if you were just trying to slowly make a line, you might be a little jittery. Also another tip I've heard from people about inking is if you're like making your strokes, it's helpful to hold your breath during them. That'll give you a little bit more control. You won't have to worry about like taking a breath in the middle of a stroke and it throwing you off a little bit. That can definitely happen. I'm by no means an expert at inking either. I'm still learning and picking up things as I go too. There's always room to learn from other people. And also I kind of switch back and forth between using fine liners and brush pens. And sometimes I'll use them both together. But fine liners you have a lot more control over, because you can really control the just the width of the tip. So the weight of the lines, they're more consistent because you know what size it's going to be. With the brush pens, you have a lot more freedom, but it takes a lot more practice to kind of really nail it and get down what you're trying to do. So there's kind of a give and take. You got to spend your time getting really good with those, but they are very awesome and they give you a lot of flexibility. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put these little pouches in. There's another one here that you can't really see because it's behind his hand. I'm going to go ahead and put it in there. Okay, let's go ahead and do the belt. I haven't decided if I want to put like a little bat emblem on the utility belt or not. I might come back and do that, but I can't really decide at the moment. Just keep it simple for now. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and come in and do these legs. I'm going to do this one first. Because I try, since I'm right-handed, I try and remember this. It doesn't always work this way because I'll kind of jump around on the picture, but I try to remember to work left to right to prevent myself from smearing the ink, because that can definitely happen. I mean, there are other ways to avoid that too. Some people will use like a piece of paper to rest their hand on and move it as they move around the image. Some people will wear like these little glove things. I don't know what they're called, but it's just like a glove that has finger holes in it. Some people will do that, but I try and work from left to right just to kind of prevent myself from doing it without adding anything extra. Yeah, and if you're left-handed, you might want to do it the opposite way. Just an idea to keep in mind if you're having trouble with that particular problem, which I'm sure everybody has at some point or another. They haven't thought about it and it just happens. and you get all upset because you were doing great, you were almost done, and then you mess something up. Been there several times. You're in such a groove, and then you get down to the end and you feel like you really screw a line up, and then you try and save it. I'm not too concerned about these lines right now because like I said, I'm gonna go in with more weight after I color it, maybe, or even before I color it. But these are just kind of preliminary to kind of get the lines in there, so I can kind of establish what are the lines I'm committing to. All right, so now I'm gonna do some details into the costume. I'm gonna start doing like his emblem. Maybe, I don't know if I'm gonna do these his abs or not. And I like to put some of these lines in coming down the character too. It kind of gives them a feel of like a cartoon as opposed to comic books, which I kind of like. A healthy mix between the two is the style that I prefer. All right, I'm gonna throw in, he's gonna have the blue line coming all the way down. Then I'm gonna throw in like the little details for the gauntlet. Put them in over here as well. Put them between these little blades. Gotta remember to keep these fingers blue right here when I color it. It's easier to see it here because I've done this line all the way down his arm. Alright, let's put the emblem there. Also, if you guys are curious what kind of paper I'm using, this is it's a cardstock. It's like 100-pound cardstock. I find that it works really well with the markers I like to use, and that's why I use it. Because most of my art I make, I use markers on it. So I am going to throw those in there. And when I say markers, I mean in like alcohol-based markers are the ones that I use. There's a couple different brands, but the Copic ones being the most well-known, I guess. Alright, so now we have like the basic lines. I'm gonna go up a level and do a little bit more of the weight to the lines, mostly on the outline of the figure. Definitely gonna put some more in the hand because this is more in the foreground. I might actually go even more than this one because this fine liner is actually running out of juice a little bit. I use it so much, so I think I might go up the next level. Might be a little too much, but it's got a little bit more juice in it, so just got to be a little bit more careful not to make any mistakes with it. And this part of it is on the outside of the form, like the side, the arm, so I'm gonna go heavier line there as well. Same thing with up here on the outside. The thing that's great about brush pens is you can be having like one continuous line that you can actually change the weight to based on the pressure you put on it. And I'm gonna actually use one real quick just to show you guys what I'm talking about. So like here's a brush pen right here, and so I can start out like thicker and come down to a smaller line, all on the same stroke, or you can just kind of be lighter with it. It's not really a great example of it, but so here's one. I'll start heavier and then come lighter. You see how it's much thicker down on this end, but this has like it's got a flexible tip on it, so that kind of helps changing the line weights. Alright, I kind of broke my rule right there, going left to right, because I did this part first and now I'm in danger of smearing it. But that's what I mean, like that's what I try and avoid, having my hand on top of lines like that. So that was a good chance to illustrate what I was talking about. Thankfully I didn't smear it, but that is a situation where it could happen and could affect your drawing. And also the thinner lines that I already put down for like the first, it's not really a layer, but for the first pass, those are gonna dry quicker than this thicker line too. But I'm really just trying to stick to the bigger groups right now and the outside of them, not any of the details on the inside. Because that's kind of the things that I'm gonna give thicker line weights. But again, you still, if you can, you still want to try and do the quick strokes, because those are what's gonna look best. It's gonna be a more consistent line that way. So anytime you can do that, you gotta try to. And you know, it just takes practice, so if you're not really feeling it, you gotta keep doing it to get better. Some artists will do this stuff with actual brushes and ink too, and that's like a brush. It's even harder to control than a brush pen, but it looks awesome when you're really good at it. But just like drawing, inking takes a lot of time and practice to get good at. It's not just it's really not just tracing your lines. There's a lot more to it than that, although it could seem that way. I'm just trying to keep some quick strokes here. These are harder, even though it's kind of like a straight line. It's still longer. It's longer than I'm confident with doing. Like these short bursts around the hand, I'm okay with that. I feel pretty good about those, like that right there. But when it gets longer and it's not just a quick little burst, I'm a little more nervous about doing those. I'm afraid of messing up. Those are situations where, like, if I was working on like a commission or something, I might bust out a ruler to get that line that I want. Don't be afraid to use tools like that. I mean, they might just take a little bit more time, but you're gonna get quality out of it, so it's definitely worth it. Also, I'm one of those people that likes to get on top of their drawings when they're penciling or inking, and I'm making a conscious effort not to do that while I'm recording this video, so I don't want to mess up the video. But if you're one of those people, practice recording yourself. It'll help you break that habit a little bit, and you'll start to get a little bit better if you're trying to stop doing that. Maybe something you like to do, and if that's the case, keep doing it. But I have noticed that I've gotten better the more that I've drawn on video, just because I'm getting away from being right on top of it. I still catch myself doing it at times, but I do feel better about it. It used to make me really nervous not doing that. So definitely practice the things that you know you're not good at. Because usually if something's bothering you, or you know that it's something you need work on, that's the way I look at it anyway. If there's something that I'm bad at, or I don't like doing, it's usually because I'm not good at it. So just keep that in mind when you're working. Like if there's something you're dreading doing, it's probably because it either takes a lot of time, or maybe you're just not too good at it yet. All right, so here are the inks. We got that done. Next time we're gonna do colors. Thanks for watching, everybody.